Everybody here? All right. Good, because we've got a test today. All right. The pens are in front of you. John, you can pass out the papers for everybody. And I'm just kidding. Okay. Everybody, come bring your blood pressure back down. It's okay. There is a test, but it's not for you. The test is for the Israelites. And we're going to find that in Exodus 15. We're going to start in verse 22. And we have anybody itching to read this morning? Anybody want to read a few verses? It's only a few verses if you pick this one. All right. So I'm going to start in Exodus 15, 22, verse 22. We'll read to the end of the chapter. And this is right after the song and dance. Right? Last week we talked about the Exodus. We went through the song, the singing, the dancing, and this is immediately after that. This is the last half of chapter 15. And it goes, Then Moses led Israel from the Red Sea and went into the desert of Shur. For 3 days they traveled in the desert without finding water. When they came to Marah, they could not drink its water because it was bitter. That is why the place is called Marah. So the people grumbled against Moses, saying, What are we to drink? Then Moses cried out to the Lord, and the Lord showed him a piece of wood. He threw it into the water, and the water became sweet. Then the Lord made a decree and law for them, and there he tested them. And he said, If you listen carefully to the voice of the Lord your God, and do what is right in his eyes, if you pay attention to his commands and keep all his decrees, I will not bring on you any of the diseases I brought on the Egyptians, for I am the Lord who heals you. Then they came to Elim, where there were 12 springs and 70 palm trees, and they camped there near the water. All right, instead of our usual thing, I want everybody just to take a minute. The first thing that comes to your mind, the first question you have, and really like the thing you want to know, after reading this, the thing you want to know, first thing that comes into your mind, anybody want to share? Anybody have a question that's, as they read this? Pop.
Burnt wood.
Yeah, piece of wood.
What is this? What is this piece of wood?
Yeah.
It's forestry major. Right? What is this piece of wood that he's thrown in there? I mean,
They said it could have been a small tree. The New King James says tree.
New King James says tree. Oh, I like that. It's a different translation. In fact, like before we get to this piece of wood, let's step back here because my version says, Moses cried out to the Lord, and the Lord showed him a piece of wood. Anybody have a different translation? That is verse 25 there. Anybody have a different translation for that? And we have here already, King James is going to say tree. All right, I'm going to take issue with this translation because that is not what the Bible says. The Bible does not say God showed him a piece of wood. In fact, the Bible says the Lord taught him wood or tree. And Moses threw into the water. And you might say, well, that's just a little bit of difference. Like he showed him something. And, teaching somebody something could be showing them something, right? You show somebody how to do something or you teach somebody. But they've used it differently here. Showing you a piece of wood is like, hey, that one. Right? I'm not teaching you about that piece of wood. I'm showing, hey, that piece of wood, that's the one that needs to go in the water. That's not what it says. It says the Lord taught him wood, or the Lord taught him tree. And he cast into the water. Now, let me just, I said I take issue with this translation. But if you read the Hebrew, and that's what it reads, and you're like, I got to render this in English somehow here. What am I going to do? And what is your problem if you just render this, and the Lord taught him tree, and Moses cast into water.
It's about all you can do with English if you're going to just straight translate it.
If you were going to straight translate it. But that's not what the NIV. The NIV is trying to make, and they are trying to make an accurate, readable version in modern English, and the Lord taught Moses tree and Moses cast into water, in not readable modern
You know,
English.
a tree could be just one that's starting out to a very small one. Like, I plant trees in my yard, they're only like 3 feet high, and I first planted them, so maybe it wasn't a small tree.
And this is what they're doing. They're thinking, well, like, he's going to cast it into the water. It doesn't make sense to say he cast wood into the water. We're going to have to make it something specific. And so it could be a tree, or it could be, in fact, a piece of wood is about as generic as you could get, right? If you wanted to say, it's wood, but I need to make it specific, something he can pick up and cast into the water. So a piece of wood is about as good as I can get, right, with that. And then the other problem is it says he taught him, and you're like, if we read this, and he taught him a piece of wood, and he cast it into the water, it doesn't flow very well. But if I say that he showed him, and I can kind of twist that, he taught him to he showed him a piece of wood, and he cast it into the water, and we'll go with that. Okay, now people can see what's going on, right? Now we got something they can read, they can see what's going on. But that's not what we've been doing here, is it? We have been looking in the text, and I want you to back up. And when we say the Lord taught Moses tree, where in the story have we had teaching and a tree? In the Garden of Eden. We've got a tree of what? A tree of teaching. A tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And this is what it's trying to tell. Now, the reason I take issue with this translation is they have completely hidden that. It's gone. When I say the Lord showed him a piece of wood, how are you going to get the tree in the Garden of Eden out of that? You can't.
Yeah.
It's gone. But that's precisely what it's saying here. So the Lord teaches him tree. And he casts into the water. He casts what into the water? I just wanted you to hang on to that question. Because the word it is not even there. It's just he casts, and the it is implied. Moses is going to cast something into the water, and the water is going to go from being bitter to sweet. It's going to become life. It's going to go from death to life, you could say. The bitter waters, you drink it, you might die.
Ryan, in 2 Kings 2:21, Elisha cast salt into the water to purify the water. God told him to cast a bowl of salt
Yeah.
into it.
And I think that's going to be at least a reference to this. There, that's a good one. I like that. All right, now I got another question. What is the test here? Because the Israelites have a test. What is the test that they face?
It alludes to it, but it doesn't really tell us what it really is.
Right, and so you might say, and y'all are cautious now. I've already been throwing you. I already spooked you. Okay, y'all are cautious. So most people would say, well, the test is they're wandering around in the desert, they're thirsty, and are they going to trust God to get their water? The problem with that is, by the time it says that the Lord tests them, do they have water? Yeah, they've already got water at that point. Very clearly, they come, the water's bitter. The Lord teaches Moses wood. Moses casts into the water becomes sweet. Now they have water. And then, after that, it says, the Lord made a decree and a law for them, and there he tested them. Oh, so he didn't just, he tested them. What is the test? What is the law? He gives them a law or a rule to follow. What is the rule? And you might say, well, it's got to be what follows next, because he said, if you listen carefully to the voice of the Lord your God and to what is right in his eyes, and if you pay attention to his commands and keep all his decrees, then they're not going to get the diseases, they're going to get the healing. Is that a rule? I mean, like, kind of, it's like, listen to what God says, but that's not a rule. Right? I mean, it is, but it's not. It's because it's not telling you anything specific to do. A rule would be, here is something that you need to do.
Yeah. Nan was told to dip 7 times in the dirtiest river around, River Jordan. The Bible thought they were clean rivers. But he didn't get clean till he went in 7 times.
Went in 7
Obedience
times.
is the key word.
Yeah.
Obedience.
Obedience.
Just like baptism, obedience going into the water. Water, nothing but water. H2O. But it's obedience of going into it, God said to him.
Exactly. They got to do what God says. And that ends up being really what that story in the Garden of Eden is about, right? What do we say that's about? You got 2 voices. The snake says, man, why would God put a tree here with some fruit that's really good to eat and with some fruit that's going to give you knowledge and tell you not to eat? I tell you what I do as a beast, I'd just eat it. That's how God made me. But God caused them to listen to his voice.
That's right.
Listen to his voice, and that's exactly what it says. So you need to listen to my voice and not do, and what did it say that Eve did to the fruit? We brought in a concept there. It's okay, I see it's good to eat, and it's desirable to give you knowledge. She desired it. She craved it. These people are craving something right now. What are they craving? They've been walking around in the desert for 3 days. Hadn't found water. They are craving some water.
That's right.
They are craving some water. And I can just imagine it. We're going to get a count here. There's hundreds of thousands of people. And they have a source of water that they have come to. You finally got something to drink. And what's going to happen? What happens after you say the prayer to potluck?
Let's eat.
Let's eat. And what is the rule? What is the unspoken rule at a potluck? Everybody jump up, whoever can get there first. It's a race. Whoever can get there first gets to eat first, right? That's the rule at a potluck. Is that the rule? What is the rule?
Older people first.
Bring something.
Read something. The most vulnerable among us go first. And that is exactly what the sages came up with, that is the rule. And you say, well, where did they get that? Where does that come from? Well, if you look at the story in the Garden of Eden, you look at what they're craving. You're craving water. We finally got water. I want to go get it. But grandma's got to go first. But a crippled uncle, he's got to go first. But this baby that really needs it, it's got to go first. Or maybe the nursing mother that's going to feed the baby, she's got to go first. I got to wait to get this water. And then immediately what happens after that is they're basically going to turn the corner, and then now 12 springs of water. 12, what's this number 12 going to represent? That's the easy one. You got 12 tribes, 12 springs of water, 70 palm trees. Plenty of shade for everyone to go around. And we're going to kind of keep this in our mind as we go to the second test. If anybody that wants to read in Exodus 16.
Right.
Let's go to... Let's go to 17 at first.
Start at the beginning.
Yeah, 1 to 17.
Oh.
Oh, did you volunteer? Or did
Yeah,
you? I
did,
thought you
but,
did. Okay.
So you want me to go to 17 or?
No, read from 1 to 17. That's it.
Thank you. Yeah. The whole Israelite community set out from Elim and came to the desert of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai. On the 15th day of the 2nd month, after they had come out of Egypt, in the desert the whole community grumbled against Moses and Aaron. The Israelites said to them, "If only we had died by the Lord's hand in Egypt. There we sat around pots of meat and ate all the food we wanted, but you have brought us out into the desert to starve this entire assembly to death." Then the Lord said to Moses, "I will rain down bread from heaven for you. The people are to go out each day and gather for that day. In this way I will test them and see whether they will follow my instructions. On the 6th day they are to prepare what they are to bring in, and that it is to be twice as much as they gather on the other days. So Moses and Aaron said to all the disciples, or said to all of the Israelites, in the evening you will know that it was the Lord who brought you out of Egypt. And in the morning you will see the glory of the Lord, because he has heard your grumbling against him. Who are we that we should grumble, that you should grumble against us? Moses also said, you will know that it was the Lord when he gives you meat to eat in the evening, and all the bread you want in the morning, because he has heard your grumblings against him. Who are we? You are not grumbling against us, but against the Lord. So Moses said to Aaron, say to the entire Israelite community, come before the Lord, for he has heard you grumbling. While Aaron was speaking to the whole Israelite community, they looked toward the desert, and there was the glory of the Lord appearing in the cloud. The Lord said to Moses, I have heard the grumbling of the Israelites. Tell them at twilight you will eat meat, and in the morning you will be filled with bread. Then you will know that I am the Lord your God. That evening quail came and covered the camp. In the morning there was a layer of dew around the camp. When the dew was gone, thin flakes like frost on the ground appeared on the desert floor. When the Israelites saw it, they said to each other, what is this? For they did not know what it was. Moses said to them, it is the bread the Lord has given you to eat. This is what the Lord has commanded. Everyone is to gather as much as they need. Take an omer for each person you have in your tent. The Israelites did as they were told. Some gathered much, some gathered little.
Go ahead and read 18 as too.
And when they measured it by the omer, the one who gathered much did not have too much, and the one who gathered little did not have too little. Everyone had gathered just as much as they needed.
All right, tell me what you see in this passage. Or what questions do you have? God is going to provide for them. Exactly. Just the way he provided for them in the first test, he's going to provide for them again.
Even through their grumblings.
Even through their grumblings. They're going to grumbling again. They grumbled the first time. They're going to grumble the second time. And God is still going to provide. Good stuff, for sure. Nothing else. I'll point out something here. It rained down bread. That's an interesting word used, right? Rain? I mean, rain. And is it really rain? Does it rain down bread? It doesn't seem like it. There's a layer of dew, and then the dew dissipates, and what's left behind is the man. It's not really rain. It doesn't rain dew. Dew shows up on the ground when it's time. So why is and it turns out this word rain, not used very often. It's going to be used 3 times in Genesis. What a number. How about that? 3 times? Can you imagine that? 3 times in Genesis we got rain. You got a question or something back here?
Well, it wasn't because of, it was actually because of their grumbling, not even though they grumbled. That's why the Lord, that's what it said. He heard their grumbling.
You heard their grumbling. So let's see. Let's read that exactly. Where did he hear their grumbling?
The Lord heard your grumbling. It was in verse 8, 9, 7.
Moses also said, "You will know." Wait a minute. Who are we that should grumble against us? Moses is saying, "What? We're nobody that you'd grumble against us. You're grumbling against God."
Because he has heard your grumbling against him. Verse 8.
Because he has heard your grumbling against him. I sort of like that. I sort of don't like that, because is God going to feed them?
Yes, he's going to do it regardless.
He's going to do it regardless. So I don't know that. Now, there is this thing about their crying out. And we got that in Exodus. It's all throughout Exodus. It's in Genesis. God hears the cry and he responds to it. And maybe we'll talk about that in the next one. But that's an interesting thing. It does say here, because God heard your grumbling, we're going to have this manna.
You see it all throughout Scripture too, that it is a sustained prayer. You don't pray for God once to do something and give up. But when you have that continual petition of prayer, he answers it.
Yeah, now, and that makes me wonder, okay, what if they had not grumbled in the first story? If they had waited, are they just going to, eventually they'll get to where there's 12 springs and 70 palms? That's kind of the way it reads to me. But here, like, well, what if they don't grumble here? Where are they eventually going to get? Because it's in a desert. It's not going to sustain them. There is not enough food in this desert for hundreds of thousands of people to roam around. So they're going to have to get it somewhere. And is God just going to wait? Well, I guess when some of them maybe when they start dying, I might, what is he waiting for? And I guess is he waiting for them to grumble? I don't know. That is an excellent question. I like that.
Well, and it's all a part of it. We see that God tests through famine, through all kinds of things, and sometimes and like you said, with a test, it's not pass fail. I mean, you went and talked about that.
I didn't say that.
But yeah. But he's calling to see where they're at. Maybe when they become hungry, what happens?
Yeah. It's definitely a test. Like, he's brought this situation up. Okay. But has it been a test yet? Did you read the word test? I haven't read the word test yet. Haven't been a test yet. All right, let me get back to this rain, okay? 3 times. Anybody want to hazard when those are? 3 times. There's a famous rain. Somebody's got to get this one. Genesis, rain. The flood. That's going to be one of them. The other 2, not so obvious. One of them is in the Garden of Eden, and it's not rain. It says there's no plant of the field yet because the Lord had not caused it to rain yet. So the first use is going to take us back to the Garden of Eden story. Another connection there, right? Third one, I'll give you Sodom. It's raining, it's not water. It's burning sulfur. 2 of the 3, judgment. The other one, just kind of there. Hadn't rained yet, but 2 of the 3, judgment. Now we got bread raining down. Maybe there's this correlation to like this bread is judgment, but it's also provision. It's an interesting thing to think about. Yeah.
I was going to say, when Jesus talks about give us this day our daily bread, it sort of resonates with the fact that God wanted them to trust God for their daily bread.
Absolutely. And I think Jesus is calling back to that, certainly, in the Lord's Prayer. Absolutely. So I want to ask you another question. What did God tell Moses to say? They're grumbling about not having food. And what was their grumbling? What did they say? We sat around pots of meat.
Yeah.
And what did God tell Moses to say?
Send me bread.
So they say, I'm going to send you bread. And what did Moses say?
God will give you meat and bread.
God will give you meat and bread. Did God tell Moses to say that he was going to give them meat? No. Where does this come from? Seems like Moses is like, God, I don't know if you heard them, but they said they were sitting around pots of meat. And you said you're going to give them bread. And I don't know. Maybe he's like, maybe if I just say there's going to be meat, God will make meat too. Seems to work.
Quail, they said quail, full wind, quail.
Knee deep or something, I can't remember exactly what it said. Lots of quail, plenty of quail, meat, all you want to have. Now my understanding is they don't get the meat all the time. It seems like when God answers, it's like, okay, today you can have meat. The bread's going to be your daily provision. You're going to get that for 40 years. The man is not going to run out till you go into the promised land. Quail, I think that's just tonight.
They wanted a sandwich, didn't
They wanted a sandwich. They wanted them both. They wanted them both. They're going to get them both. And then we got this thing at the end. They go out to gather the manna. They're supposed to have an omer each. And it says, some gathered a little, some gathered much. But when they looked, everyone had exactly an omer. Everyone had exactly what they needed. How does that work? One way to look at it is that, somebody went out, gung ho, I got to get as much as I can. Give me another jar. Give me another jar. And somebody else went out and they were like, I'll throw some here in the jar. And then they went back and the person who gathered a whole lot was like, I only got one. I gathered like 4 gallons of this stuff. And I've only got 1 omer. And somebody else is like, I only threw a couple flakes in there, but I got a whole omer. Like, what happened? That's one way to see it. But there's something in this language in the verse before. Each one is to gather as much as he needs. Take an omer for each person you have in your tent. And that doesn't quite sound like each person in your tent go get an omer. That sounds like go gather. Every person in your tent needs an omer. Now, how do you think this is going to work practically? We talked about in the first story, they're going to have old people. They're going to have nursing. They're going to have people that are disabled, probably people that are crippled or blind, or different things like that. Are they all going to go out and gather an omer?
Well, they go out at all.
Says everyone.
It says, let's see, okay. Evening
Verse
quail came.
16, part E, everyone shall gather.
This is what the Lord commanded. Each one is to gather as much as he needs. Take an omer. So it doesn't say, I'm not seeing everyone gather. I mean, each one, you could read it that way. Okay, so your version's going to say everyone go and gather. And maybe they did, maybe they all had to make an effort, because some are gathering very little. So maybe even if you're very old,
They only carry part of it.
they only go out and get a little bit, but they're gathering something. All right.
In verse 16, it says, take an omer for each person you have in your tent. Why would he tell them that if every single person was gathering?
What do you got a newborn baby?
It sounds like, they're gathering.
2 weeks old. They gathering any? No.
They're not gonna eat a whole omer either.
They're not going to eat any at all. They're only drinking milk.
But I'm talking about even when you're young.
Yeah, even when you're young,
And
maybe.
then you're old and you're crippled, they're not gonna be able to get out. And even then, hey, I may eat 2 omers or an omer and a half, and you only eat 3/4.
Maybe. And so, how would it work normally? Just normally, a family in this time, who's going to go gather the food?
Father in most cases, and maybe.
The father and the ones that can, older children, are going to go get the food. How are they going to calculate how much food they need? Calculate how many people are eating. And they're going to be the ones going and gathering. And then at the end, people are going to eat as much as they need to eat. Another way to look at this is that some people went out to gather more, and they gave it to the people who needed, who couldn't gather as much. And so everyone gets what they need. Doesn't that sound like kind of the lesson from the first story? We've got to take care of each other. It's another way to read this. And the nice thing about reading it this way is like, oh, they're kind of starting to get this, kind of, right? Like, I'm seeing that they are providing each other. Turns out, write this down, mark it, whatever. 2 Corinthians chapter 8. Go read that later. See what Paul has to say about this. See if Paul thinks that there was some miraculous thing where stuff changed hands, or if people were trying to help other people.
We kind of find a little bit different story though on that 6th, 7th day.
Let's get to it. Anybody? Who wants to read? Who wants to read? Let's get to the 6th, 7th, the 6th and the 7th day. Anybody?
Real quick, Moses, we have another place right there where Moses is speaking to the people, and then the people don't say anything.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then Moses speaks again. Who are we? And you're grumbling against us. And then it says, Moses also said.
Yeah, I almost like they're being a little bit stubborn. They're like, we're not listening to you. We're not listening to you. Okay, I like that. All right, I'm going to read from 18, probably to the end. 19. Then Moses said to them, no one is to keep any of it until morning. However, some of them paid no attention. to Moses. They kept part of it until morning, but it was full of maggots and began to smell. Yeah. So Moses was angry with them. Each morning, everyone, there's the word everyone gathered as much as he needed, and when the sun grew hot, it melted away. On the sixth day, they gathered twice as much, 2 omers for each person, and the leaders of the community came and reported this to Moses. He said to them, "This is what the Lord commanded. Tomorrow is to be a day of rest, a holy Sabbath to the Lord. So bake what you want to bake and boil what you want to boil. Save whatever is left and keep it until morning." So they saved it until morning, as Moses commanded, and it did not stink or get maggots in it. "Eat it today," Moses said, "because today is a Sabbath to the Lord. You will not find any of it on the ground tomorrow. 6 days you are to gather it, but on the 7th day, the Sabbath, there will not be any." Nevertheless, some of the people went out on the 7th day to gather, but they found none. Then the Lord said to Moses, "How long will you refuse to keep my commands and my instructions? Bear in mind that the Lord has given you the Sabbath. That is why on the 6th day he gives you bread for 2 days. Everyone is to stay where he is on the 7th day. No one is to go out." So the people rested on the 7th day. The people of Israel called the bread manna, which means, what is it? What they said when they saw it. It was white like coriander seed and tasted like wafers made with honey. And Moses said, "This is what the Lord has commanded. Take an omer of manna and keep it for the generations to come, so they can see the bread I gave you to eat in the desert when I brought you out of Egypt." So Moses said to Aaron, "Take a jar and put an omer of manna in it. Then place it before the Lord to be kept for the generations to come." As the Lord commanded Moses, Aaron put the manna in front of the testimony that it might be kept. Then the Israelites ate manna 40 years until they came to a land that was settled. They ate manna until they reached the border of Canaan. An omer is 1/10 of an ephah. All right. What do you see here? Question. We finally had the word test show up. What is the test?
You keep more rules.
He gave him a rule. We got a rule this time. A rule we can read. We know what it is. We can follow this rule. There's a rule. And what is the rule?
Take it up on the 6th day to take care of the 7th day.
To take care of the 7th day. On the 7th day, don't go out. We don't work on the 7th day. And did all of them listen? Did all of them not listen? No, some of them. Some of them listened. And the test, by the way, the test is not that they were hungry. Are you going to grumble? The test is, are you going to trust that on the 7th day? Okay, not only that. So, okay, God said the first, don't keep any of it overnight. I need you to trust that when you go out the next day, it's going to be there. And what happens when you keep it overnight? Maggots. It spoils. 6 days. Or 5 days, I guess it would be. If you keep any of it overnight, it's going to spoil. Now, we come to the 6th day. I need you to get double, and I need you to keep it overnight. And 6 days, there's been manna out there. The 7th day, there's not going to be manna. Like, whoo! You're really stretching this, God. I mean, it was one thing for there to be bread raining down from heaven, and we got to trust that every morning it's going to be there. But you've already shown us if you keep it overnight, it spoils. And you've already shown us every day it's going to be there. Now you're telling us on this special day, Saturday, Friday, we can keep it overnight. And you're saying that on Saturday there's not going to be any of it. Yeah, that's what I said. That's exactly what I said. What is the test? Does this call us back to something earlier in the story, by the way?
It is a 2-part test. It's trust and obedience. Both.
There is both trust and obedience. Yep. Is it calling us back to something else in the story? Sabbath. Where do we first get the Sabbath? It's creation story, right?
See, that's also the same thing he told Adam and Eve at the beginning. Trust and obedience. You're going to have everything you need. Just trust what I say, here's this one tree, stay away from it. Again, trust that he means what he says, but obedience, if you don't, there's consequences.
As long as you do what he says, you're going to have enough to eat. Your whole life will be right there. All you got to do is pick it. You don't do what he says, not going to be there. But what actually is he getting to? It's about the Sabbath. What is he asking them to trust him to do? What is the lesson in this? I mean, really, we got like this bizarre thing. This bread shows up. You keep it overnight, it spoils. It shows up every day, except for this special case on the weekend. Like, is that what God is trying? Is he really just trying to teach them, obey me? Or is there's something else about this here? Is he preparing them for something?
Ten Commandments, maybe?
Partly. In the Ten Commandments, there's going to be this commandment about keep the Sabbath holy and rest on it. Does it take a certain amount of trust to do that? What is the temptation to not do this? Because it says here, it's like, look, I gave you a day off. You don't have to go work today. Like, seriously? I told you to take a day off and you're out here working? How many of you show up to work on your day off?
A lot of people would.
Some people would. Why would they? Why do you show up to work on your day off? I need the overtime. I need this money because I might not have enough. And God said, I've given you a day off. Take it. You need to know when to say enough because you're not a slave. You are not a slave. You've got to learn to take a break.
Where had they come from?
They had come from slavery where they don't get a break, where they ask for 3 days off and they get same quota, no straw. That's what you get for asking for work harder if you ask for a day off.
Your worth is what you do.
They need to learn to trust that God is going to make it work. That we cannot work on Saturday, we don't have to work 7 days a week, and God's still going to make it happen. We got to learn to not go after what we crave, to not listen to our desires in the first story, but listen to what he says. And we have to learn to trust him. He's giving us a day off. We got to learn to take it. We got to trust that it's going to work out, that he's still going to provide for us if we take this day off. And we're not going to have time to get to the third test. Any questions this morning? Any comments?
Jesus said in the model prayer that he would give us our daily bread.
Daily
He
bread.
didn't say store up. Took a few fish, a few loaves of bread, and fed 5,000. But he can do it.
In fact, we've learned in this story, there came a time when there wasn't going to be bread. For how long? How long was there not going to be bread for? 7 years. 7 years there wasn't going to be any daily bread. And what did God do about this when he knew there wasn't going to be bread for 7 years? He sent a dream to someone to tell him to get ready for it. In fact, if I'm going to do this, if I'm going to test you in a way that there's not going to be bread for 7 years, I'm going to make 7 years of plenty before it. And I'm going to tell you about it so you can get ready beforehand. But here in the desert, it's day by day. Day by day, my friends. God will give you just enough what you need for today. That's what we got to trust in. Any other questions? We still have a few minutes. If you got questions, comments?